The Acceleration Initiative is a proactive instructional strategy that focuses on the front-loading of key concepts and associated academic vocabulary, and the dispelling of common misconceptions linked to content area standards prior to the delivery of the core instruction. The objective is to maximize the likelihood that students will successfully access that core instruction and achieve better academic results on common assessments. Acceleration teachers are not expected to create and preview lessons that mimic core instruction. Instead, the teachers are asked to create and facilitate lessons that prepare their students for the upcoming standard that will soon be taught in their regular math or reading class. Lessons should consist of 5 primary components, and those components will be explained in detail for teachers in a separate instructional video. But if you visit an acceleration class in progress, what can you expect to see? Well, depending upon the point at which you arrive to an acceleration lesson, you might see the following. When students arrive to their acceleration class, there should be an activity planned that generates curiosity and enthusiasm related to the day's topic or standard. Depending upon the topic, the teacher may need to incorporate some background building features to help students make sense of the lesson. Ideally, the activity will include the prerequisite skills associated with the targeted standard as identified in the CRMs, but should not resemble remediation or reteaching. An observer should see lots of student interaction, and the teacher should be listening carefully to the interaction for possible errors or misconceptions. To prepare her 3rd grade students for a lesson on attributes of geometric shapes, Lakeville's Sandy Hayes has the kids pair up to create human versions of some basic quadrilaterals and identify their common traits.
Here we go, with your partner. Let's see a square. With arms only. Square. Let's see a square. Let's see a square.
Touch my arm.
That is so hard. Oh. Watch out. Wait, so like this?
After the opening activity, the acceleration teacher should clearly state and post the goal or objective of the day's lesson. Because successful lessons tend to be relevant for our students, the day's goal statement should incorporate some form of response to the student query, "What does this have to do with me?" Establishing relevancy and defining objectives should increase the chances that the acceleration lesson will be successful. On the West Oaks campus, Michelle Lease carefully explains the day's learning goal to her 3rd grade acceleration class, and her planned activity builds relevancy because the kids create word problems based on their own timed actions.
When we think about what the learning goal is for 3rd grade, and it's to be able to create a word problem that involves elapsed time. What we're going to do with that is we're going to do some activities where you're going to time yourselves. You're going to figure out your elapsed time. Then you're going to take that information and then you're going to write a word problem using that information.
In the next phase of an acceleration lesson, the teacher should introduce any new academic vocabulary relating to the lesson and review any prior vocabulary that may aid in student understanding of the lesson. At this point, teachers may have students working with vocabulary notebooks or journals. Whenever and wherever possible, vocabulary should be accompanied by visual imagery that reinforces comprehension. To witness some vocabulary work in action, we travel to Wyndham Lakes Elementary, where we find Amanda Small's 4th graders referring to their vocabulary notebooks to discuss and compare the customary and metric systems of measurement.
So I want you guys to turn and talk really quick. It should be a quick conversation. What is the difference between customary and metric? Ready, talk!
Ready, okay. Metric system is a easier way and the customary system is in the United States. Customary system is the United States. Metric system is the countries that create
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The students are encouraged to review their associated vocabulary in small groups, using pre-taught gestures to support their learning.
Factors. Division. Then this is the time to go back over them. Use them. We're all right here.
Similarly, at West Oaks Elementary, Michelle Lease incorporates movement in her third grade lesson to help her students grasp the meaning of elapsed time.
Elapsed time is the amount of time from the start to the end of an activity.
After the whole group lesson is completed, the students should be divided into small groups. One group can be assigned to work on computers. These students should have been manually assigned iReady math lessons that address the acceleration lesson's prerequisite skills. A second group of students should be given exercises to reinforce the vocabulary element of the day's lesson. Teachers will be given examples of various active strategies that help students master the vocabulary, including word art, quirky comparisons, vocabulary pantomime, word detective, and Etch-a-Sketch. The third group would be working at a table with the teacher, completing some we-do exercises that allow the students to dip into the upcoming standard without being expected to master it. This is also the time that teachers would address common misconceptions associated with the targeted standard. The final component in an acceleration lesson should be a formative assessment, an exit slip, for example, that will help the teacher verify whether or not the students seem to grasp the day's lesson. The results of these assessments can be shared with the students' core instruction teachers to let them know what to expect from the students when the standards are taught in class. The assessment is especially helpful to identify those students who did not appear to successfully access the acceleration lesson. Before dismissing her students, Sadler's Alexa Zukauskas has her third graders complete a few relevant exercises to ensure their understanding of the day's measurement lesson.
Answers? 8 1/2. 8 1/2.
So this is 3 yards. So this
Nice. How do we do this? Let's see. What's my 2? Is that my starting point? Is that my 0 or my 2? Count with me.
Say again. This is 3 yards.
8, and it's perfectly touching the half. Give yourself a happy face next to your 8 1/2. Wonderful job.
In closing, we want to remind principals and coaches that the Acceleration Teachers' lesson plans will be housed in each school's folder in the Google Drive, so you can check out in advance what you should be seeing before you visit a classroom. Thank you for viewing Episode 1 of the MAO Narrowing the Gap video series. We hope you found it helpful and informative. Be sure to check out additional episodes as we work together to narrow achievement gaps throughout the district.